Good day, Internet. A lot has happened in the RX7 saga in the last 2 days. All good things. Mostly all good things. We got it inspected. We got it registered. We got it insured. We got it driving on the road. Needless to say, this is a humongous milestone, and this has been extremely rewarding in the past day driving this around. Took many of my friends for a drive, took my mom for a drive, and it's been great. Of course, I'm learning about some things that need to be fixed and improved, because I'm actually using it for its intended purpose for the first time in my possession. So we'll get on to the minor things, but I want to talk about a major screw-up that happened yesterday. So I went to A&W and I got a burger, and the car was sitting for a while in the drive-thru, and I shut it off because the car's really loud and I kind of felt bad. And then I turned it back on, got my food, and as I was pulling up to the spot to eat my food, steam started rising from the engine bay, and I went, oh shit. And I opened the hood, and there was coolant absolutely everywhere. There was like at least 2 liters of coolant on the ground and just all over the place. So the engine bay is currently covered in coolant. So here's what happened. It's my fault. I was being lazy in 2 different ways that came together and caused this screw up. So prior to this ratchet strap being here, the battery was not held down in any way, shape, or form. I did not get the original battery hold down with the car, and I did not create a solution. So lazy example number 1. Lazy example number 2, which is a little bit more forgivable, is I can't find a fan shroud for this. I haven't looked that hard because it's not super crucial for it to work. It's just a little dangerous. Not having a fan shroud here. It's supposed to attach to the radiator and go around this so that you can't get at the fan like I am right now. So what happened is the battery moved and fell into the fan area. Not good. So I'm amazed it didn't snap a blade off. It bent this blade a little bit, not the end of the world. I don't think I'm going to have to replace it. I'll just try and bend it back a bit. This whole thing shakes like crazy, so I don't think that's going to be the most unbalanced thing in the engine. But this fan was not spinning. Therefore, the engine was not getting any cooling, and I was sitting in a drive-thru for like 10 minutes. Despite shutting the car off for a little bit, it was still getting really hot. I didn't realize that this was happening. I didn't hear any sort of noise from inside the car, probably because of how friggin' loud it is. So what happened is, the coolant got hotter than it normally would, and this thing back here. So, I don't know what this is supposed to go to. I don't know how correct the coolant hose configuration is. Again, really haven't dove into the engine too much because it's been working for me. Apart from this. So, basically what happened is, this cap, which I think is like, that is not a thing that should be installed in an engine bay. That is meant to, like, plug a new gallon of something, or a container of liquid of some sort. That is like one of the things that you get in a bottle, if you know what I mean, to seal it. So, that is very half-ass, and it's held on with a hose clamp. And that shot off. So that shot off, and it just absolutely bathed extremely hot coolant all over everywhere. It wasn't that big of a deal. I thought the engine bay was on fire when I first saw steam/smoke rising from the bay. Freaked me out real bad. I have a fire extinguisher in here, so I was ready to use it, but didn't need it, thankfully. So everything's covered in coolant right now. I managed to get it back on the road. I didn't need to get it towed because my friends, my awesome friends, like 3 people came to my aid whenever I posted this picture in the group chat. Brought me over to Canadian Tire so I could buy coolant. So I bought coolant, and I had the flathead screwdriver to reattach that, even as shitty as it is. And I filled this back up, got me back on the road, drove really lightly until I could get home and put a ratchet strap on this. So I really want to put something better in there, because that ain't good. Maybe I don't know, something metal might be good. I don't know. It just needs to block that off. And This belt is now pretty dicked because of that. You look at all the rubber all over the place. That is because this belt was getting ground whenever this fan couldn't spin. Not good. So, turns out I already had the replacement belt for this. I think this is the right belt. We're gonna see whenever I take this apart in a minute, if that is in fact the correct replacement, but according to Rock Auto it is. I ordered this forever ago just because I was throwing stuff in the cart, and that's paying off today. Done. That was the easiest thing ever. Didn't have to take the fan blades off. Nothing like that. That bolt. That bolt. You gotta hold a nut back there. 10-minute job. Sweet. Okay, we just went on a very good parts run. Princess Auto and Canadian Tire. First of all, I didn't mention that this was a problem, but I got a new battery. It's been a very long time since I've bought a new battery and not just used one of the, like, 3 batteries that I already own. But I wanted one where the positive terminal is on this side, and I'll show you why. This thing, whenever the hood closes, it is so close to this. It is scary. I don't know, like, it's probably meant to be set up the way that I'm about to set it up, where the post is over here, and it's not getting, you know, this thing's not getting up all in its business. So I'm gonna do that. I also bought some threaded rods so that I can attempt to make a better battery strap than the ratchet strap. I got some plug thingies for there. I also got a plug thingy for another hose on it that needs a better plug thingy. I got some hose clamps. I got some new tubing, because this tubing, funny story, whenever I first was driving this over to the inspection shop, like, I had it all warmed up, ready to make the drive, and 2 seconds before I was about to leave the yard, this started exploding coolant everywhere from the connection down below. You can see that hose clamp there. So that, all I did is I chopped the broken part off of it, and it had enough extra that that worked. But I can feel it underneath here. This hose is kind of messed up, so I would really like to replace that. Unfortunately, coolant is going to gush everywhere when I do that, but that's just what's going to happen. So I think I'll probably do that before I drive it again. And what else did we get? We got cock stoppers for my cock. We got a mixer thing for the premix, the 2-stroke premix. We got things for the jack that are meant to go on the pinch seams so that you don't destroy your car as much. That's genius. I wanted to try that a while ago. We got hose. We got hose all up in this bitch. More hose. And there's my little bits, little ding-dong, diddly-ding-dings. I needed more nuts that were M8s because I welded all of them to that thing you saw in the last video. All my nuts are, you know, filled with weld now. I got a long-ass long-ass flathead screwdriver so that I can adjust my carburetor. It was only like $7. I got some fries. And, yeah, that's pretty much it. Alright, it is now next weekend. So I fixed up a bunch of stuff on this and I'm taking it for a couple more drives. And there is one issue that is really, really annoying and makes me, like, not want to drive the car. And it is the fact that this belt is squealing. So I told you all about the coolant explosion that happened and this fan was stopped by the battery. Even now that I've put a brand new belt on here and tightened it reasonably, I don't know exactly how tight you're supposed to make it, but I'm told you're not supposed to tighten the shit out of this belt in order to make it stop squealing, because it has been squealing over 3,000 RPM like pretty much all the time, which makes the car pretty much undrivable unless you like listening to it screeching. So I learned a couple of things. One thing is that typically the fan is actually being driven by 2 belts, and on my car it's being driven by 1 belt. And that's because the previous owner deleted the air pump, the thing that pumps air into your exhaust for emissions or whatever. That thing is normally like over here, and there's another pulley, and this is getting utilized. So normally there are 2 belts worth of grip traction on the fan belt, or on the fan pulley. So what somebody suggested, and it sounds like a cool idea to me, is you can buy a pulley that is double wide. It's called a double sheave pulley. Never heard that word before. So I've ordered one of those. It was like 120 bucks Canadian, not too terrible, I guess. And I'm gonna mount that on here. I've ordered another belt, and this pulley is the same size, that pulley is the same size, and this one's about to be the same size. So you literally just run 2 belts next to one another. And that reduces the amount of strain that is on the eccentric shaft down there, because you don't want this pulling on it really hard, because it's going to wear your bearings out extra quickly, and people just say, you know, don't try and fix the problem by tightening the shit out of it. So I'm going to heed that warning. So that's one thing that I learned. I got those parts coming in the mail. The other thing is that this is a very over-engineered, complicated, weird 80s fan clutch setup. So this fan clutch is completely mechanical. So see, it's not directly connected, but it is connected by fluid that is inside this thing that I haven't even taken off the car yet. But this thing is like a sealed unit, and there's fluid inside of it, and it's controlled by a bimetallic strip that is right there. You can see it, and that flexes as it gets hotter and less hot. So whenever it gets really hot, it engages the fan clutch more, and whenever it's cold, it engages it less. At least I assume that's how it goes. We'll learn whenever we take it apart. So people online have described how to check them. You can free that little pin. There's a little pin that goes in and out, and that controls how much the fluid is making it engage or not engage. Sometimes that thing freezes up, but I think there's a decent chance that I cooked this thing whenever the fan was getting stopped by the battery. I don't know, but I know that the car was driving on the road, and I was able to like rev all the way without this squealing in the first place. And then the battery thing happened, and now it squeals all the time. So that tells me that it was either skipping so bad before that it wasn't squealing, because the previous belt was really shitty. The old belt barely had anything left. So I have a theory that maybe this was making such poor contact that it was really slipping and just not making noise. Yeah, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm taking these 4 10mm out. It's going to take forever to get that out because I can't get a ratcheting 10mm in there, I don't think. No, it's too tight. So I'm going to spend the next half an hour getting these bolts out manually. And we're going to inspect this. It feels a little stiff. Maybe. I don't know. I have no idea what I'm talking about. But if I can fix this, then maybe I can drive the car today with only one belt and maybe it won't squeal. We'll see. Alright, so it wasn't that bad getting it off. The screws weren't as rusted as they looked. So we got it off the car. This is the strip that is supposed to flex in and out. And I guess I'm going to remove this carefully. There we go. Okay. That's a piece of metal. Wow, there's very, very small stuff here. Very small things. Alright, so here's what we got. I didn't even use any chemicals, I just used a plastic brush to get most of the crap off. So here's what it looks like underneath. Here's the bimetallic strip, haven't cleaned it yet. But the way it works is this bends more or less as it heats and cools. And it pushes or does not push on this thing, this tiny little thing. It appears as though this is still sort of working, because if I hold this in with my finger and I spin the fan a bunch with my hand, it definitely gets easier to spin than if it's not pushed at all. If it's not pushed at all, it's very stiff. So I'm gonna read the forum post that I was reading before and see what they say this is supposed to act like. Alright, RX7FB.com, what do we got? Viscous fan problems. The main cause of burning, slipping, and snapping fan belts is the viscous coupler going bad. This is very prevalent on first-gen RX7s given their age and limited use. Undo the bolts. I did that. His strip looks a lot more bent than mine did. Underneath the strip is a small brass pin which is usually pressed in by the bimetallic strip. As the strip bends, it relieves the pressure on the brass pin, allowing it to move outwards, and this in turn operates the valve inside the coupler, allowing the silicone oil inside the coupler to flow and the blah blah blah. I assume it's supposed to push it down all the time when it's cold. Like at room temperature. When I assemble it, this should be pushed down all the way, is my guess. The strip, when cold, must be in contact with the pin and push it into its hole. If the strip is heated with a hot air gun / hairdryer, it should bend and allow the pin to pop up from its hole. Cool. Alright, well, I gave this a 30-minute cleanup. Hit that with some sandpaper. Made sure that the pin was moving up and down. I bent the bimetallic strip in the opposite direction so that it'll push the pin down all the way, as you can see there. And just holding it with my hand, I can tell that it spins a lot easier. Like it's almost freewheeling now. So I'm just gonna throw it back on the car, see if it still screams at me. Alright, it's warming up right now. I just barely blipped it above 3, and it did not squeal, so that's better than yesterday, but it was warm yesterday, so I'm just looking for anything, you know, any sign of the problem being fixed. Alright, so I just went for a very awesome drive, and I had my phone set up in the passenger seat, and it was not recording the whole time. It recorded for about 1 second, and then my janky mount that I have it in, I think I accidentally pressed one of the buttons and it stopped recording. So, oh no, we'll have to go on another drive in the RX7. Poor me. Just kidding, that's like my favorite thing to do in the world right now. So, the stuff that we just did to the fan completely fixed the problem. Hell yeah. I really wasn't expecting it to fix the problem because I didn't really feel like I did anything. I just cleaned that whole mechanism that I just showed you, cleaned the bimetal strip, cleaned the chunks of dirt that were underneath it. I have a feeling that might have been the issue. It might have been the bits of dirt that were underneath the bending strip, and it wasn't able to bend down all the way because there was dirt there, and that made the fan clutch engage really hard all the time, which made the belt squeal because it was way more engaged than it was supposed to be. So that's fixed. That's awesome. We can drive this thing and rev it over 3,000 RPM. Previous to this being fixed, as soon as you hit 3,000 RPM, it would squeal loud as hell. And it was extremely annoying not being able to drive a rotary over 3,000 RPM because it's a rotary. It needs to rev high. I was short shifting it like crazy the one time that I drove it like that, and it was super annoying. But now it's not super annoying. So I'm going to re-record our drive. So let's go. So I increased the idle screw a tiny bit. Depending on the temperature, it idles at like 1,000, maybe 900. Right now it's at like 1,100. The temperature is something I'm slowly figuring out. It seems like this car doesn't quite heat up all the way. I did actually buy another thermostat, thinking that that might be the issue. It's probably not, but it was only 12 bucks. So, that's a thing. But ultimately, despite all the little nitpicky things I want to fix about this car, it runs and drives. And it runs and drives nice. So why don't we pull onto the highway and go for a little brap, shall we? chirp the tires for you, just because I know it'll do it, and I'll feel like it. Let's go! Yeah, this car is so fun, man. This car is so fun. This car basically follows the Miata ethos, the Miata way of life. You don't need a lot of power. You just need it to be light and small and handle nice, and you'll have a blast. And have a good transmission. So many things about this car feel great. The clutch feel is great. The shifter feel is great. Better than any of my other cars. I love shifting this thing. It feels so good. I feel like the rotary not having a ton of torque, or not having a lot of rotating mass, kind of helps there. Because even if you don't really shift at the right RPM, the engine will figure it out. It's not like it's going to jerk a whole lot because it doesn't have that much rotating mass. The steering feels great when you're not going slow. So no power steering in this car whatsoever, but at speed it feels very nice and direct. I think I already mentioned that I have a little bit of play in the steering. I'm told that it is my Pitman arm that needs to be replaced. They're out of stock right now on Rock Auto, and I can't seem to find a listing for them anywhere else. So I'm just waiting for Rock Auto to have one. And yeah, I don't know what I was thinking coming back this way. There was a bit of an accident, and I was hoping we could go through some roundabouts and I could do some fun steering around, but I don't know if I really want to go through this right now. No, I can just about guarantee you I don't want to go through this right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull a 180, and we're going to go down a fun road near my house. I ain't got time for this. Okay, turning radius, go. Let's go. Yes. Just made it. Oh man, it feels so nice to shift this thing. It's great. Yeah. Steering is great, shifter is great, clutch feels great. The throttle response, I don't know if it's because it's carbureted or because it has a throttle cable and my other cars are electronic, but it feels incredibly well connected. Like, the pedal feels very directly connected to the engine. Like, this millisecond you're on that pedal, you hear it going brrr, for lack of a better description. So just about everything that the driver interacts with feels freaking awesome. I am so pleased with how this thing drives. So let's talk about the ride quality. Obviously I've lowered the hell out of the car. It's quite low, but very drivable. I reckon that the fun driving experience is still completely there, despite how much I've lowered it. I have roughly doubled the spring rate, and I did not touch the stock dampening at all. So you would expect it to be really like bouncy and under dampened, but maybe my standards are low because my other car rides kind of like junk, but I think it's totally fine. I took my mom for a drive, and she actually said it wasn't as bad as she thought it would be. So that's saying something. Alright, so what we're going to do, instead of going down those roundabouts, is we're going to take a Larry here. We're going to go down Suffolk. Another thing I think I mentioned is that the turn signals don't cancel. That's something that's a little annoying. I'd like to fix, but I'm also getting used to it. Just manually canceling my signals. Whee! Yeah, man, I get it. I've driven a number of Miatas. My parents have had a number of Miatas. So like, I get that they're fun. But this is my car. It's different. Even on PEI's shitty roads, this thing deals with it. I've noticed that the front fenders, like, it is rubbing. Not all the time, it only rubs sometimes, but it definitely screwed up the paint that I just did under there. Whatever, that's all part of it. All part of the fun in painting and then lowering a car is your own paint getting screwed up. Ride quality on bumps like that, not bad. Not bad at all. I feel like the RX7 seats kind of help with that. They're really soft. You feel your ass bouncing up and down in the seat while the rest of the car is kind of just taking it head on. I feel like the seats help with the ride quality a little bit. Alright, so we're gonna take a Randall. A spirited Randall. A really fun road, but I also try not to drive fast on it too often because these guys know exactly where I live. Whee! Let's go! This person walking their dog. I don't want them to think I'm a piece of shit. And let me go fast again. Okay, that was a good one. And I think it turns to shit pretty soon. It turns to a dirt road. Yeah. I'm gonna want to turn around here if I can. It is a horsey. Hello, horse friend. Alright, low speed, 180. Oh, the turning radius is good. That's not bad at all. You want to pull a U-turn on just a random country road? No sidewalks or no, like, bike lanes? No problem, the RX7 will do it. You'll get a workout at the same time. Race car coming through. Oh, there's that bump again. Whee! Let's go. That's the sign that I like to see. We need more of those. can't get over how fun the shifter is. The shifter feels great. Probably better than any shifter that's made in a modern vehicle. Not that I've driven all modern vehicles that are out there, but this thing feels freaking awesome. Another thing that I want to demonstrate before we go home is the exhaust makes awesome noises whenever you're freewheeling down a hill at like 5,000 RPM. Listen to this. It goes pop, pop, pop. I love it. I don't know if that's a good thing, but it sounds awesome and it makes me smile. Potentially a sign of running a little rich, but that's better than running lean. One thing that's kind of funny is the fuel mileage is horrendously bad. Obviously, I've been driving this thing a little bit spirited, yeah, because it is a fun little low to the ground sports car. But man, I've not driven this that much, and I've put, I think, 2 tanks of gas in this so far. Like, my average drive takes off 1/4 of a tank, and that's not going that far. Into the tent. Maybe I'll leave it out in the yard today. It's a nice day. I just had to do that. Just for fun. And we back! Successful drive in my RX7. There it is. It's been a long time coming. A lot has led up to this, but we've finally driven the RX7 on the road legally, and we had a blast doing it. So, the YouTube channel, or my YouTube series on the RX7 is far from over. We still have a ton of stuff that we need to fix and improve on this thing. So, I'm not going anywhere, but we got it on the road. Huge. So yeah, needless to say, I'm thrilled. This car is awesome. I love it. I don't regret a single hour that I spent working on this thing. And yeah, life's good. So if you made it this far into the video, thank you for watching, and catch me in the next one.